if you have enough income and if you have enough savings and your assets are not allocated properly, your expected family contribution is going to be high, and you're going to be required to come out of pocket. And so the more money you have in a 529 account, the higher your income and your requirement to come out of pocket is. By having money in a whole life policy, it can actually reduce the amount that you're required to pay. You can qualify for more grants. The school will discount their tuition. And when you look at that, if you can take it from $60,000 to $40,000 because of the way that you saved and the way that you move your money around, that can be a significant benefit for you, right? Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It is Chris with Life 180. And for this video, I want to talk to you about the 3 reasons I think whole life insurance is better than a 529 account for saving for your kids' college education, saving for the college expense, I guess is the best way to put it. So, let's just get into this. I know there's a lot of differing opinions. You can look online. And while there's no, I guess one way or one investment that you should kind of depend on completely for college, what I want to cover in this video is ultimately the reasons that I think whole life insurance, if it's not the entire plan for your college savings, should be a significant portion of your college savings plan. And I think by the time I'm done, it's going to make sense. So the first reason that whole life insurance is an amazing place to save for college is the fact that you are not going to have to count in most situations the cash value inside of a policy against your EFC. So EFC stands for expected family contribution. So when you go get to the college point in time, if you are about my age or maybe in your mid 40s or below, you know what a FAFSA is called. When your kids go to apply for financial aid for college, they have to fill out a FAFSA. Now the FAFSA is a federal application for student aid, and they utilize that, colleges utilize that to determine your expected family contribution. So the EFC, as we'll call it, is ultimately what they determine you are going to have to pay out of pocket for college. So anything above that, so it's what your expense is going to be for college. And so you can take loans for that. You can, in a lot of situations, you'll have to come out of pocket. And so I actually did a great webinar. It was like 5 or 6 years ago now. But the webinar was talking about how to save on college, not how to save for college. And I think it's really important to understand that a lot of people talk about 529s being a better investment for college for your kids. And whole life insurance is not an investment at all. It's a savings vehicle. Now, obviously, when comparing a savings vehicle to an investment, it's an apples and oranges kind of conversation, right? So to expect that a guaranteed product is going to perform like a 529 where there's investments involved, well, that would just be unrealistic. Now, imagine though that 2008 or 2009 were to happen, or there's a correction in the market the year before your kids go to college and you lose 20 or 30% of your savings, right? Your investment for college for your kids. That can have a serious impact on what's going on for your kids' college tuition and how you're going to ultimately pay if you've been planning on that money being there. That can have a serious detriment. Now, on the flip side, while a whole life policy may not grow as much as a 529 account, you don't have the downside of the risk or the potential of losing. And while the returns in the policy may not be as robust, you are going to have the ability to reduce your expected family contribution. Remember, every school has what we call a sticker price, right? So a sticker price, like look at a school like just any kind of high school, like Duke or Pepperdine or any of these Ivy League schools. I don't know the exact tuition cost right now or the sticker price for those schools, but it's upwards of $60,000, right? So if you have enough income and if you have enough savings and your assets are not allocated properly, your expected family contribution is going to be high, and you're going to be required to come out of pocket. And so the more money you have in a 529 account, the higher your income and your requirement to come out of pocket is. By having money in a whole life policy, it can actually reduce the amount that you're required to pay. You can qualify for more grants. The school will discount their tuition. And when you look at that, if you can take it from 60,000 to 40,000 because of the way that you saved and the way that you move your money around, that can be a significant benefit for you, right? And so if you could do that and it saves you, $10,000 to $20,000 a year, and because of that, that's let's say $40,000 to $80,000 over a 4-year period, over the lifetime of your kids' college experience. Now we're talking about a situation where what did it matter as far as the rate of return in a 529 when it's not about saving for college, it's about saving on college. And that's the number one reason that I love whole life insurance over a 529 when it comes to saving for college. So the number 2 reason that I love whole life insurance for saving for college is that it's self-completing. Listen, I'm a father. I've got 3 kids, 10, 7, and 3. And so when I'm saving for college, I need a plan that's self-completing, right? So if I were saving in a 529 account, why am I doing that? I'm saving because I want to accomplish the goal of making sure my kids' college tuition is covered, right? That is the objective of what I'm doing. And so when we look at that, if something were to happen to me this year, next year, 2 years from now, at the end of the day, if I haven't planned completely properly, if I haven't saved the chunk of money, or if I don't have other assets to take care of their college tuition, if something were to happen to me and I were to pass away, that 529 plan is not going to be self-completing. It's going to be whatever amount of money is there, and that's all they have access to, right? Whereas if I'm saving in a whole life policy, on top of the benefits in number 1 that I talked about, this is going to be self-completing. There's obviously the death benefit behind it that is going to make sure that what I want to happen will happen when I want it to happen, whether I'm here to see it or not, right? I use that a lot in my videos because that's why I love this product for this many ways, because it can be so flexible. We can use it in so many ways. College planning is just one of them. And this self-completing factor is a huge component of why this is important, why it's a great savings vehicle. Remember, I'm going to go back to this. It is not an investment. It is a savings vehicle. It's guaranteed. You got to make sure it's structured right. But at the end of the day, it is self-completing. So if something happens to you, your goal, the objective of making sure your kids' college tuition is automatically covered, right? And that is the number 2 reason that I think whole life insurance is an amazing way to save for college and better than a 529. The third reason that I think a whole life insurance policy is better than a 529 is because it is flexible. Now, a 529 account, it's important to know, that it's limited, from the perspective of how much you can contribute to it and get the tax benefits. But whereas a whole life policy, you can put in as much as you want. So for the higher net worth people, that's a fantastic thing. But more importantly, a 529 account needs to be used for education. If you don't use it for education, you're going to wind up paying taxes and penalty whenever you access that money. What I love with whole life insurance is if you're somebody like me, right? Like, so for me, I'm not necessarily a big believer in college right now. Not that I'm against college. If somebody wants to go be an engineer, be a doctor, go to law school, something of that nature, because there are certainly trades in this world that we need a college education for. But if my daughter, my son, one of my daughters or my son decide that they want to go into business, if they want to get into real estate investing, or if they want to start their own business, become an entrepreneur, I have now the flexibility to take the money that I've saved in the whole life policy, and I can go pay a guy like Russell Brunson, who I've worked with, Dana Derricks, who I've worked with, people who have made millions and millions and millions of dollars that have mentorship programs that I can plug them into that a 529 account won't qualify for. I couldn't use that to help them launch their business. I can help invest in things like learning to teach them skills and do their own self-directed education, like learning how to do online marketing and ClickFunnels. I can help them. I can use that money to buy their first investment property and actually get their cash flow properties going, right? And get their investment career started. And that can be a business for them in and of itself, right? So that kind of flexibility, I think, is really important. Whereas when you put the money in a 529 account, everybody thinks about the benefits of the tax deferral of it. But remember, it's not a tax deduction, it's a tax deferral. and all you're doing is kicking the can down the road, which is great. It works fine if you end up using it for college, but I think the lack of flexibility in it is something to really consider. And I guess that really just depends on how you feel. If you're somebody that just believes your kids have to go to school, you want them to go, you got your mindset that they're going to go to the biggest and best schools, and come hell or high water, that is just what's happening, and that is your definition of success and what your kids need to do to have a good shot to be successful in this world. I'm not judging you. Listen, everybody's got their own thing and their own beliefs. Then this benefit doesn't hold as much water. But if you believe that college is getting way too expensive, that the government has got involved in guaranteed loans to students, and that has driven the cost of school way out of control, and we don't know what the world is going to look like in a decade from now. I mean, gosh, I don't even know if I know what the world's going to look like in a year. So having the flexibility to have the money in an account that I can control, both when they get to college, before they get to college, how I want to handle that after, if it goes to tuition or if it goes to something else, that's a really important thing. And so that is reason number 3, that I think whole life insurance is a better way to save for college than a 529. Now, all that said, I do think, kind of in good faith, I need to talk about some of the hangups or the challenges that need to be considered when it comes to saving in whole life, when it comes to your college plan. So first and foremost, whole life insurance kind of requires a savings plan, right? Like, so it forces you to save. Now, a lot of people look at that as a negative thing. I look at that as a positive thing because, listen, if this is something you want to do anyway, forcing you to do something puts a little pressure on you, but it forces you to do it in the right way, right? Like, so if you have a whole life premium, you're required to pay this premium every single year. Now, the way that it's designed, if you design it properly, there could be flexibility in the amount you have to pay if you come upon hard times or something like that. But it is important to understand that you are going to have a required payment, whereas a 529 account, it's completely voluntary. If you hit a year and you're like, I don't want to contribute anything, well, that's your prerogative, right? Like, so that's something to consider, the requirements to make the premium. If you think there's going to be a year where you're not going to want to pay anything, you may want to talk to whoever is helping you with your plan and make sure that concern is raised with them. The second negative thing about using whole life insurance is just the fact that you have to qualify for it in the first place, because let's face it, it is life insurance, right? So if you're unhealthy, if you have serious health concerns, if you maybe have cancer, have diabetes, or you're obese, you're a smoker, that can be detrimental. Now, in that situation, it might make sense to take a policy out on your kids and save in that policy. There's a lot of benefits to that as well. You do lose the benefit of it being self-completing if you do that. So that's one of the reasons I like saving in the policy of the parent, not the kid. I know there's a lot of agents out there that tell people they should save in their kids and create a policy for their kids to save for them. But if you do that, you lose the self-completing component to it. But understand that one of the things you have to consider is qualification of it. The healthier you are, the better this is for you. Like the more efficient it can be. And the third reason that I think you have to consider, or I guess it could be a challenge, is making sure it's structured or designed properly. There are a lot of people out there selling life insurance, as these plans that really don't design them for high liquidity, right? For high cash value. And when you are utilizing whole life insurance for the purposes of saving for college, you really have to consider the fact that you need it to be funded in a certain way. You need it to be designed in a certain way. And you have to take the objectives of how long do you want to fund it. So there are different things that you need to take into consideration. So those are just the things that you need to consider. Kind of the downside if you decide to go with it, or if you're contemplating going with it, you kind of got to consider both sides of the spectrum. Now, once again, I'm not saying whole life is the end all be all to saving for college, but I am saying if you kind of resonate with what I was saying, whole life insurance should be absolutely a foundational component to your college savings strategy. I know I've been working with people on this for a long time. Like I said, I've done a webinar on this. It's just full of in-depth information. I did it like 5 years ago, but the information in it is still completely relevant, will still be extremely helpful for you. So if you have a kid anywhere from 6 years old and up and you're looking to save for college, check out the link. I'll put it at the end of the video in the end screen. You can have the link to go watch the video there. Go check that out. I know it will help you. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. I will engage with every comment as best as I can. And I hope you go out there, have a blessed, inspirational day, and we'll talk to you on the next video. See ya.